everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nikku Sharma and I've been a Toronto realtor for over 10 years. Today, I'm going to talk to you about buying tenanted properties. These are either homes that have multiple units or buildings that have multiple units or condo properties that already have tenants in them. Leases in place, month-to-month tenants, some sort of tenancy already exists. Now, what is really important in this, and sometimes people get confused, is that when properties change ownership, those tenancies don't just go away. Those tenants don't just leave. You are assuming those tenancies and those tenants in those properties unless the current owner has already had something in place with the tenants that they are going to leave, or an agreement has been reached and proper forms have been signed by both parties that these tenants are already going to leave before you purchase the property, or the tenants have given notice that they are going to be leaving the property. Okay, so super important that you remember that you are buying and assuming those tenants. There is no way around it. Those current leases at those current rates and those terms. It's super duper important. So make sure you do your research and understand exactly what it is that you're buying. So what can you do as the new purchaser of this property? Really, there isn't much that you can change, right, about those tenancies. So you can't just go in and evict the tenants, as I said, unless you are going to physically move into that condo or that house or one of the units that are in there. And you have to move into that unit. It can't just be like, well, I've decided I'm moving in, and 2 months later you've now listed it and want to rent it out again. There are repercussions, so you need to be very careful to not do that, because tenants have a lot of rights in Ontario and Canada in general. So as a landlord, you need to be aware. Getting tenants out, let's say if you want to do a renovation as well, totally possible, so they can leave for the renovation. However, they get first right of refusal when that unit or that property is ready to be occupied again at the current rate that they're paying. So remember, again, you can come in and renovate, no problem, but they get first right of refusal to come back at the current rate, okay? And really, like I said, the only way to get them out is if you're going to move into the property. Now, if you go ahead and you decide that, well, you're going to do it anyways, there are, as I mentioned, legally the tenants are able to take you to the landlord-tenant board, and there is, penalties that can cost you thousands of dollars, which I would not recommend. So if you're going to go down the path of, buying a property that already has tenants in it, be very careful and be of the mindset that, yep, I'm willing to take on what those tenancies that are already in place are, and the tenants that are already there. So that is something that you have to be very, very aware of and ready to take on. If you're taking on a property that has recently been leased out, that can be a positive thing, because that means that the unit has been rented at generally what is market rent right now, which could support then the valuation of that home. And it's easier to value a property that has current rents. Where it becomes challenging is, let's say, if a unit has been occupied for many years or a few years, you are not getting, therefore, market rents because rents have gone up. And therefore, now you have to look at the valuation and see where it makes sense for you to purchase that property at. Again, increasing market rents is not easy, right? You can't just go in and say, oh, well, I'm buying this property at this, and this is what I need to break even, so therefore your new rent is this. You have to take that into account with the purchase price that you are going to be paying for that property. Now, looking at and talking to the landlord's current relationship with the tenants can help. So have the tenants been paying on time? Are there records of these payments? What do they do? What kind of information does the landlord have about these tenants that can give you satisfaction that, yep, the leases that I'm taking on, I'm comfortable with the rates. And this can all be part of your offer and part of your due diligence. So it's not like you're making a decision like, okay, it's tenanted and I'm just taking it on or I'm not. There are pieces and, due diligence that you can ask for and that you can do that can really help you make the decision of whether it's worth it or not to move forward with a property that has tenants in it. How do you know if you should move forward or back away from a tenanted property? So the first and foremost, obviously, is making sure the rents and the valuation matches, right? So if you have tenants that are paying current market value rents, then you're probably in good shape just to begin with. That means the tenancies are new. You'll have all the information about the tenants as well to help you make that decision. Second, look at the tenant profile. Have they been there for 10 to 15 years, 5 to 10 years? That's going to tell you about, how long of a tenant you're going to assume. They're probably not looking to move out anytime soon if they've been there for that long already. So that is really important. And understand the tenant's profile. Like, what information do you have about them? Are they young professionals, or are they an elderly couple that are looking to be in this place for, until they go to a home or go live with family, whatever they want to do. So really understanding that. So it's rent and valuation, understand your tenant's profile, as well as look at the property. Is the property in good condition? Does it need a lot of work? Does it need a little bit of work? Will you need to renovate any of the units or all the units? Like, how does that all factor into your decision to go forward? Because each one will have a cost impact, right? A financial impact that you will need to put valuation to. And if all those are positive and you find, yep, you know what, the current rents match and like I'm happy with, they go in with the valuation that I can support them, then great. That is something that you can move forward with. If the profile of the tenant doesn't match, or there's a reason why you don't feel like they'd be, kind of suited to what you feel the tenant should be, then that's something that you have to consider overall, right? So you have to look at each piece individually and then as a collective. So at the end of the day, also remember that you have to have a feeling about this purchase. A lot of people will say, oh, when you're buying your own home, like you get this feeling in your home when you step in. It's very similar for an investment. Yes, a financial component is huge in an investment because at the end of the day, you are looking at the numbers, but there is that sense of confidence, right, that you feel when an investment is coming together. So does the purchase feel right to you? Ask yourself, do the numbers feel right to you? Is it something that on the worst case scenario you're comfortable with, and on the best case scenario you feel really good about, right? And the desire to own investment properties in itself is a huge undertaking. So you have to be ready for what that entails beyond the financials. You are now making a commitment to having another property that either you are going to manage yourself or have somebody else manage it for you. But doesn't mean that it's going to be, well, I bought a property, hands off, like everything's done, like I don't need to do. You will need to step in with decision making. You will need to, put more money in it. You will need to have a fund that you can lean on if things happen and you have to, 5 years down the line, do a roof. There can be a lot of things that come up. So it has to feel right. And that step to make a decision to own an investment property has to be one that you're confident about, right? And feel good about. So don't let that, piece about it having to be only financials be the driver. Make sure you feel good about your investment strategy. If you found value in what I had to share today, subscribe to my channel. And if you have questions, please type them below. I'll be happy to answer, or reach out. Thanks for tuning in.